After Comrade Bombshell Geza, vauya vachiblazer nemashoko aicheka kungereza. Takaona vakomana vemubato runotonga rezanu PF vachizeza. Comrade Blessed Bombshell Geza vakatotanga kutogeza kudhara. Before even the protest, just the shaking, kungokwata chete, we are seeing a giant is shaken. Since 7:15, now it's 7:54, I've been trying to do a live broadcast. I scheduled this one for 7:15, apologies guys. The network was playing up big time of fellow Zimbabweans, but they can't stop us. We are now on live, unraveling MNANGAGWAS blunder. It seems General Ansalem Sanyatwe might be having an upper hand. After all, we're going to go deep into details about this. We're going to go into detail what happened at General Ansalem Sanyatwe swearing in. What happened there, fellow Zimbabweans? As you can see showing on the screen there, we're going to review something. Then we're going to talk about Ansalem Sanyatwe's new power. Now, what is happening in Zimbabwe, fellow Zimbabweans? As you can see in the image that is showing on the screen right there, I'm going to zoom in closer. I'm going to zoom in closer, even closer. What we are seeing is military influence in Zimbabwe governance. The military is gaining a foothold in the government, and now Sanyatwe has been made a cabinet minister but is not a member of parliament. When MNANGAGWA's term expires and all the other ministers who are MPs' terms expire, Sanyatwe will remain in cabinet alongside Minister of Home Affairs, Minister of Defense, Minister of Justice, and Minister of Finance. Yes, that is going to happen, but we're going to go there. Right now, let's begin with the images there. Apologies, guys, for the delay there. My network, these guys, they use jammers, EDC, trying to sabotage, but them can't stop us. All right. So we can see the image that is showing on the screen there. We see the Vice President, Constantino Chiwenga, would be there at Ansalem Namo Sanyatwe's swearing in, right? So we're seeing him. Take note of the body language when he greets VP Chiwenga there, right? When he greets VP Chiwenga is smiling. He lowers his head to show respect. Now, look at President Emmerson Mnangagwa's eye. There. Look at President Emmerson Mnangagwa's eye. This one is clear. Let me zoom it even deeper. All right, that's him there. Then we zoom in. We see the eye there. Now the people who attended this swearing in, show a lot, right? Can we see those guys standing in the back? They are standing by far. They are shaken. Those are the non-military guys. Then you will listen to him, how jovial he was when he was swearing his oath, or rather when he was taking his oath, you will see how jovial he was. Then we will come back to this one here. We can see how these guys are sitting. Take note how they are sitting. Take note how they are seated. Right. Crossed ankles. Crossed ankles. VP Chiwenga is crossed ankles. Right. Hands on lap. Right. Body language. Body language. Then ED. Body language. Closed legs. Now, VP Chiwenga sir shows kuti don't mess with me, don't play with me anytime. That is the body language. Right. Body language inoitwa kana munhu akamirira kurowa munhu ichi. That is the body language. At the same time, the closed ankles show confidence. The legs are open on top. It shows confidence. It shows confidence. Right. Behind them, we see it's Sanyatwe's wife. There where the arrow is pointing. Right. That is Sanyatwe's wife. Then the guy in the black tie is Sanyatwe's son. So we see pa attendance patu ya mkazi wa Sanyatwe kuzo attender swearing in ya baba. Take note. Koya VP Chiwenga. Who else was there? Why would he be there? He is there to be there. Or is it that? Right. So we see Sanyatwe and the wife is there. Take note the body language of the wife again. Humility. Then we go to Sanyatwe. Happy, slightly opened, trying to humble himself. Right. So we can see that his hands are inside the legs. His hands are outside. Right. Ukagara nimskana asiri comfortable kuwepa nzimbo pa ari. Let's say mkombi. Or if somebody pick them up, if they're not comfortable, they sit like that with closed legs and my hands are so up. It's body language. Then Kembo Mohadi as Tombo Rene, that's on his kuitika. That is the body language there. We're seeing clenched hands there. That is Kembo Mohadi. Again, confidence. Confidence. Crossed ankles. The only person without confidence there, we can see ED, or maybe because he's a trained person, it is his body language. We are getting somewhere, fellow Zimbabweans. We are getting somewhere. What is happening in the nation of Zimbabwe? Now listen to how he would give, or he would make his oath. He would take his oath. Remember, ata guseni mtambara kunakirwa.
In terms of subsection 1 of section 104 of the Constitution, the President appoints ministers and assigns functions to them, including the administration of any act of Parliament or of any ministry or department. And whereas the President duly appointed you as Selem Namo Sanyatwe as Minister of the Government of Zimbabwe. And whereas in terms of subsection 6 of section 104 of the Constitution, before taking office, the minister must take before the President the appropriate ministerial oath in the form set out in the third schedule. Now, therefore, I am MNANGAGWAS, President of the Republic of Zimbabwe, do call upon you, Astelem Namo Sanyatwe, to take the oath of ministry.
I, Anselm Namo Sanyatwe, swear that I will be faithful to Zimbabwe and, in the office of minister, will uphold the Constitution and all other laws of Zimbabwe, that I will give my advice to the President of Zimbabwe freely and to the best of my judgment whenever
that I will give my advice to the president of Zimbabwe
I am required to do so for the good management of the public affairs of Zimbabwe, that I will not disclose directly or indirectly any secret that is debated in cabinet and is entrusted to me in the course of my duties as minister, and that in all respects I will perform the duties of my office faithfully and to the best of my ability. So help me God.
All right, so we see Anselm Sanyatwe there swearing an oath of office. Now, one question is, why do politicians swear oaths of office when they are entering office? Now, this is a sacred law from God. It is God who would allow people to swear oaths. Hence, where we would get the verse, do not use the name of the Lord in vain. If you swear an oath and you breach an oath of office, you would have used the name of the Lord in vain. Because we take an oath in the name of the Lord. For you to be able to be in power, you have to swear an oath so God can allow you to be in that position. Kuzvipira, right? It's a deeper spiritual subject. I don't want to go there, otherwise we'll go off topic, right? But we see Numbers chapter 30 verse 2 says, if a man vows a vow to God or swears an oath to bind himself by a pledge, he shall not break his word. He shall do to all that proceeds out of his mouth. An oath is person binding. Then Leviticus chapter 19 verse 12 says, you shall not swear by my name falsely and so profane the name of God. So when you swear to serve, to uphold the constitution of Zimbabwe, right, and you amend the constitution of Zimbabwe, by amending the constitution of Zimbabwe, you have breached an oath. By amending that, you have breached an oath. Because the moment you swear an oath, God gives you certain powers. So there is the book of laws, where a lot of things that happen, most of the rituals that happen in politics come from. The book of laws are written from the book of laws of Moses, not the Bible. The book of laws, Yepanyika Panapa, where we get all my ideas. Esana swearing in of office, Nyayana Chief Justice, the power of the Chief Justice, right? How powerful is the Chief Justice? Chief Justice, otherwise God himself anopindira. That's why we see some people would remain, right? This may sound like fiction because we are so used to misinformation, right? But this is a real information. Now, where are we going in? Where are we going in with this? Politicians swear an oath of office, not as a form of promise, but as a promise to God to uphold the duties and responsibilities of their position. This practice has deep historical roots, dating back to ancient times when oaths were seen as a way to bind individuals to their commitments, often under invocation of a higher power or authority. Right. Now, in modern democracies, the oath serves several key components: accountability, then as a tradition, trust again. Then the oath has legal weight. The oath has legal implications. Breaking it by acting against the Constitution should lead to consequences like impeachment, impeachment and prosecution. Impeachment comes when there is a breach of the Constitution, and amending the Constitution is a breach of the Constitution. Creating an act of parliament that goes against the Constitution is a breach of the Constitution. So apana kamutemo kari temporary kanokwanisa kungoiswa kuti vanhu varebese temu yavo kusvika 2030. Now, after 2028, what would happen to Anselm Sanyatwe? Right. Remember, Anselm Sanyatwe is a non-MP. Section 104 part 3 of the Constitution of Zimbabwe allows the president of Zimbabwe to appoint up to 5 ministers who are not members of parliament. These appointments are intended to bring in individuals with specialized expertise or skills that may not be available among MP appointments. But that is not the only reason, right? We see the constitutional framework for non-MP ministers in Zimbabwe. Why are they there? And we see Sanyatwe is now one of them. Who are the others? And what happens to them? Mangwema MPS pawanopera term yavo of office pa 2028. Anselm Sanyatwe and the others in critical ministries, defense, home affairs, justice, finance remain because they are non-MP ministers. So they will remain in the cabinet. They remain in the cabinet. Patime yachona iyoyo ndo wanenge vachitonga nyika. Who runs the election? Fellow Zimbabweans. Which ministry runs the election in Zimbabwe, or which department? It's the judicial. It's the judicial. It's the judicial which runs an election in Zimbabwe. Right. It's the judicial. President Ozogadzwa. Saka. Post-election, the cabinet ministers that remain, the non-MP cabinet ministers, are the ones that will be the government. Vari 5 Kudaro and Anselm Sanyatwe is part of them. He is Minister of Arts, Sports and Culture, right? Intersectional music, culturing yevanu. Culture also enters into education, right? It enters into things like campaigning, things like propaganda, right? Creative arts. But kanapasi sina mangwema cabinet ministers after 2028, just before the election. Cabinet can actually appoint an acting president. Should there be a need for a president to be representing Zimbabwe during time election, because term MNANGAGWA ininge expire, but term yema cabinet non-MPs ininge isina expire. Right. So they can appoint at law. I'm talking of Zimbabwe law. I'm not talking of speculation. Remember yesterday we did saw articles saying MNANGAGWA has 24 hours to rectify his problem, and we see he gets up early in the morning, and what does he do? He swears in Anselm Sanyatwe. Big up to everybody who's watching us live. Let me try to see your comments. I can see your comments to those who are watching us live. So this is a blunder. That is why we see Anselm Sanyatwe there, not even moved in good spirits. Remember, at one point, he was once removed from the military. This is not the first time this has happened. Sanyatwe is removed from the military and is made an ambassador, I think, to Tanzania. Then he's brought back into the military. How does he go out of the military and come back? That is the big question. How is Sanyatwe removed from the military and brought back? Now, this demotion of Sanyatwe, is it a demotion or Mnangagwa is under pressure? In that the military guys, pamuka position on what is isusu. The militarization. This is what we call the militarization of the government. Remember, we would be seeing Vice President Constantino Chiwenga being Minister of Health at one point. Why does VP Chiwenga become a Minister of Health at one point in the nation of Zimbabwe? Do you remember those days? And after 2017, the coup, when he enters government, the first thing VP Chiwenga does, he becomes Minister of Defense. Now, as we are seeing these political maneuvers, hide and seek, they have to play by the rules. Remember, these games are spiritual. Above all, it is God who runs things, but these guys play games. It's deeper, it's a deeper subject, it's a deeper subject, it's a deeper subject, it's a deeper subject, how the government really works. Like ukawina election, who takes you? Mu State House, ovati ndimi ma president. Saka chigarai apa, munotonga so. Saka masoja enyu achatanga kusaluta iso, maprisa enyu achatanga kusaluta iso. Chii chinoita kuti muprisa general, commissioner general asalute president. Chii chinoita kuti army general asalute president. What are they bound by? What makes them abide? What is it that makes a state stand? Chinomisa Nika. Now, where we are going is going to be very interesting. The other ministers that are non-cabinet MPs. So we have the non-cabinet MPs. We have Lieutenant General Anselm Sanyatwe, Minister of Sports, Recreation, Arts and Culture, right? Sanyatwe, retired military general, right? Anselm Namo Sanyatwe, retired military general. So we're just going to go to Google. I want us to take note of this word. What does the word retired mean? You are retired as an officer from the office. You don't retire from rank. Meaning of retired. Past, ex, former, pensioned. Right. What is to retire? Meaning of retire. Leave one's job and cease to work. Typically upon reaching the normal age of leaving employment. Right. Retirement is like holiday. It's a non-ending holiday. That is retirement. To go off, to withdraw, to go away, to go out, to exit, to make an exit, shut oneself away in, betake oneself, repair, absent oneself, leave. For to retire and to take a leave is the same thing, right? A person who is on retirement and on leave are the same. These guys can be recalled, right? So you don't retire from your rank. Now, politicians in ZANU-PF may not be aware of that, as they be singing they are 2030 and the military guys will be staying put even if they are removed, even if they are demoted, still they respect their ranks. Still they respect their ranks. And now we're seeing Anselm Namo Sanyatwe is now a non-MP. Is now a non-MP minister. When MNANGAGWA's term of office ends, Sanyatwe will remain in office. Sanyatwe will go past 2028 because term yake ya minister inenge sati yapera. Now other non-MPs, we say we have Professor Atam Tulingube, Minister of Finance, Economic Development, uyakachiwa election, but angawa yachinze technocrat, then he would then be made to join the ruling party of ZANU-PF. Tulingube is one of them. Then, okay, now I can see your comments. Big up to everybody who's watching us live. You can write your comments in the top chat or in the super chat. Bear with me, guys. I apologize for the late broadcast. My network engagement for over 30 minutes. Right. So the time and rules tanga broadcast. Unenge ones when chuna nekuita saying kija my devices, things like that. Apo unenge wanyura ma scripts ako, things like that. You've done your researches. Right. So it's a very, very disturbing, fellow Zimbabweans. But we do what? We do continue. We don't stop. We don't stop. So all the speculation we are seeing, kuti aramba chichi anakuramba, we're seeing him there at the swearing in, right? Then other non-MP ministers, Winston Chitando, Minister of Mines and Mining Development. He was not elected MP, right? Then July Moyo, one of the oldest 7 ZANU-PF members, he was there in the 1980 government. July Moyo is one of the potential successors also, and one of the most powerful people in the ruling party of ZANU-PF. Right? He happens to be just there. He happens to be there. He is powerful. Another powerful person in ZANU-PF is Jacob Mutenda. Right? Then Amon Muruwira. Professor Amon Muruwira. We see ED would shift ministry of Amon Muruwira from Minister of Higher and Tertiary Education to Ministry of Foreign Affairs just before he is made SADC chair. Right? That is another important ministry. Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Foreign Affairs is intelligence. Foreign Affairs is political intelligence. It should remain. Nika Kanerepa election. Isisina government. Those are some of the critical ministries that remain. So ED's strategy is this. Ma critical anenge defense. Ekuta mnazo mnoita. Defense, justice, home affairs. Anoisa vanu vatorima MP. So that paite 5 ma extra vanemang ma ministry ndanga snapasa. But there will be more people in cabinet. So we are seeing the military guys now taking those positions there. Taking those positions there. Now, if you see Amon Muruwira, he's not a military guy. He was a professor at the University of Zimbabwe, but he is a military there. Now, one big question one may be asking, which ministers remain during an election? Right. So, as MPs' term of office expires, they cease to be ministers because being members of parliament, it is the basis on which they would be appointed as cabinet ministers. But the office of non-MP cabinet ministers does not expire automatically. So those, and also Since ministers are appointed directly by the president, not tied to parliamentary dissolution, those who are not MPs, they do not lose their positions because the constitution only allows for 5 non-MP. Right? So, let's go back to the 2023 election. MNANGAGWA's cabinet, appointed after his 2018 election, remains in place until he announced a new cabinet on September 11, 2023. MNANGAGWA's cabinet, appointed after 2018 election, remained in place until he announced a new cabinet in 2023. From the time of the coup, 2018, 19, 2021, 2023, right? This includes ministers who are MPs and those appointed under the non-MP provision, Section 104, Part 3, such as Ansalem Sanyatwe. Sanyatwe is a non-MP minister who would not be affected by Parliament's dissolution in the same way MP ministers, but his role would still be subject to the caretaker conventions. He would be caretaker, running all the other ministries, essential ministries and functions. Certain ministries are critical to national stability and public safety, and their ministers are expected to remain operational during an election period. These include the Minister of Home Affairs, oversees the police and internal security. This is crucial during elections to maintain law and order. Minister of Defense manages the military, which is responsible for external security but also has domestic roles, such as supporting the police during elections if needed. So when MNANGAGWA's term of office expires, Sanyatwe remains in cabinet, Minister of Home Affairs remains, Minister of Defense remains, and Minister of Finance, Economic Development and Investment Promotion remains. Ensures the continuity of government finances, including paying civil servants and funding the election process. Professor Mtuli, a non-MP minister, has held this role since 2018 and would likely remain active during an election. Minister of Health and Child Care manages public health services, which must continue uninterrupted, especially during crises like COVID-19 pandemic, which affected cabinet members in 2021. Then Justice, Legal and Parliamentary Affairs oversees legal matters, including election-related disputes, and ensures the judicial system functions during the election period. So ministers that are not directly tied to essential services, such as Minister of Sports, Recreation, Arts and Culture, Sanyatwe's portfolio may operate in a more limited capacity or in a more expanded capacity, depending on the situation. It may be limited in that he may assume the caretaker role, but he may take the role of routine administration of other programs in other ministries. Major policy decisions which cannot be deferred until the election is over will be done by these guys also. So these will be the most powerful guys during an election. And we're seeing that Ansalem Namo Sanyatwe is there. Now, we can give practical examples of past elections in the nation of Zimbabwe. During the 2018 general election, MNANGAGWA's interim cabinet appointed after Mugabe's resignation in 2017 remained in place until after election, when he announced a new cabinet on September 7, 2018. Ministers continued to manage their portfolios, though opposition parties criticized government for allegedly using state resources to campaign for ZANU-PF. They would remain, after the coup, they would remain. And this included ministers like Mthuli Ncube and others who were not MPs, demonstrating that all ministers, regardless of their parliamentary status, remain in office during the election period. If you do remember the 2017-2018 election time, they would remain in office. So now we're seeing an added person there, Ansalem Namo Sanyatwe. Big up to Give More, Gonye, Wolfgang, Simbarashe, Matongera, Wolfgang, Miriam Jidziwa, Lionel Dube. I once told people Mugabe was the best for the office. This president of yours is embarrassing us. Farai Makosa, Scaffy, Yadam, okay. No more Mashoshera, Shaflin, Future Machune. Doc, thumbs up. Your analysis is very, very interesting. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. National try to balance this. Sometimes some people would be complaining with because we go into deep context there. This is not just speculation, but I would have done research. Brit Jones says this time, enough respect to everybody who's watching us live right about now. To those watching us live, you can write your comments in the top chat or in the super chat. That's how I can give you my shout out. So, anyways, let me just go for how many minutes are we at now? We are at 7. Let us go for 10 more minutes. All right, so keep your comments coming. The Most High is watching. That is very true. Tendai Mtemeri. So, I'll give myself homework to do a research on the Book of Laws to see what governs government, the rituals these guys do to stay in power. Let me just rewind the Sanyatwe video, as I'll be looking for a video of Morgan Tsvangirai when he wins the election, what he says. I want you to take note of something. How Morgan Tsvangirai is cool. There's a coup on Morgan Tsvangirai.
Section 1 of Section 104 of the Constitution. The President appoints ministers and assigns functions to them, including the administration of any act of parliament or of any ministry or department. And whereas the President has duly appointed you as Selem Namo Sanyatwe as Minister of the Government of Zimbabwe. And whereas in terms of subsection 6 of Section 104 of the Constitution, before taking office, the minister must take before the president the appropriate ministerial oath in the form set out in the third schedule. Now, therefore, I am Mnangagwa, President of the Republic of Zimbabwe, do call upon you, Astelem Namo Sanyatwe, to take the oath of ministry.
I, Anselm Namo Sanyatwe, swear that I will be faithful to Zimbabwe and, in the office of minister, will uphold the Constitution and all other laws of Zimbabwe, that I will give my advice to the President of Zimbabwe freely and to the best of my judgment whenever I am required to do so for the good management of the public affairs of Zimbabwe that I will not disclose directly or indirectly any secret that is debated in cabinet and is entrusted to me in the course of my duties as minister, and that in all respects I will perform the duties of my office faithfully and to the best of my ability. So help me God.
Whereas in terms of subsection 1 of section 104 of the Constitution, the President appoints ministers and assigns functions to them, including the administration of any act of parliament or of any ministry or department. And whereas the President has duly appointed you as Selem Namo Sanyatwe as Minister of the Government of Zimbabwe. And whereas in terms of subsection 6 of section 104 of the Constitution, before taking office, the minister must take before the President the appropriate ministerial oath in the form set out in the third schedule. Now, therefore, I am MNANGAGWAS, President of the Republic of Zimbabwe, do call upon you, Astelem Namo Sanyatwe, to take the oath of ministry.
I, Anselm Namo Sanyatwe, swear that I will be faithful to Zimbabwe and, in the office of minister, will uphold the Constitution and all other laws of Zimbabwe, that I will give my advice to the President of Zimbabwe freely and to the best of my judgment whenever I am required to do so, for the good management of the public affairs of Zimbabwe, that I will not disclose directly or indirectly any secret that is debated in cabinet and is entrusted to me in the course of my duties as minister, and that in all respects I will perform the duties of my office faithfully and to the best of my ability. So help me God.
All right, so I can find the Chamogen Shanghai video. But we're seeing the mood that Anselm Sanyatwe is speaking in right here. Reminds us of someone
here
who was
standing in opposition to this motion. We must not embrace an ever closer African Union. And I'm saying that as a Pan-Africanist. Mr. President, sir, the debate here, this disagreement here.
That is Atam Tambara. They take note.
Anselm Namo Sanyatwe,
He's a little bit laid
swear
back.
that I will be faithful to Zimbabwe and
Because there is his wife and his son there. Right? So Angasinga Konsonya Suitachi energy. But he is happy on that. Modern Jakazuka, Bruce Mukandi, Ziri say, good evening, good evening. I'm just rounding up. Big up there. Nigel Chikwature. Nigel Chikwature, big up everybody's watching us live right about now. I'm just ending this session. I said I'm just going to be live on for 7 more minutes. All right, as we just continue to conclude this. So we're going to see Sanyatwe remains.
the office of minister will uphold the...
So his wife and his son comes, and VP Chwenga is there. kunyatso invite vanhu. Remember, VP Chiwenga is the best man at Sanyatwe's wedding. Right. VP Chiwenga is the best man at Sanyatwe's wedding. And then at Sanyatwe's wedding, we see, at Chiwenga's wedding, we see that Sanyatwe is part of the bridal team. As we can see here, right, we can see the wife of there, that is the wife here of Sanyatwe. We see her here. Then that is the same woman here. And we see VP Chiwenga would be the best man there. So he invites family, and Chiwenga is is there with him. Then all the other guys in the background, we see tense faces. Anyways, to sign out, big up everybody. Now to round off tensions at the swearing-in of the ceremony. March 27, 2025, the swearing-in of Lieutenant General Anselm Sanyatwe, Zimbabwe new Minister of Sports, Recreation, Arts and Culture at the State House in Harare, was marked by an undercurrent of tension as captured in images shared by the Herald on X.com. The ceremony, presided over by Zimbabwe President Emmerson Mnangagwa, was a formal affair, but subtle signs of unease among attendees and public reactions online have sparked discussions about the political dynamics at play. As Sanyatwe does step into his role, questions arise about his future as a minister when Mnangagwa's term expires in 2028, particularly given his status as a non-MP minister. And the potential for him to oversee the role of other ministries whose ministers' terms would expire with dissolution of parliament. Now I have to repeat that one day. As Sanyatwe steps into his new role, questions arise about his future as a minister when Mnangagwa's term expires in 2028, particularly given his status as a non-MP minister and the potential for him to oversee roles in other ministries whose MP ministers' terms would have expired with the dissolution of parliament. The images from the swearing-in ceremony reveal a formal yet strained atmosphere. In one photo, Sanyatwe is seen signing documents at a polished wooden table with Mnangagwa draped in a scarf bearing the colors of the Zimbabwe flag. Looking on, other officials, including a woman in blue suit and several men in formal attire, are present, but their expressions and body language suggest discomfort. We see someone who comment on social media of an official in glasses and a maroon tie. Noting he looks very unhappy with the whole sham exercise. Why would anybody be unhappy with Anselm Sanyatwe being made a cabinet minister? Now, that is the interesting part there. Now, the question back again, is this a demotion? We see other officials, including a woman in a blue suit and several men in formal attire. We see them showing the very same discomfort there. Discomfort. Sanyatwe, a retired lieutenant general who served as commander of the Zimbabwe National Army from October 2023 to March 2025, has a controversial history. Now, he has served for 1 year, 7 months. 17 months, actually. He has served for 1 year, 5 months, less than 1.5 years. His statements during a 2018 election campaign, he was commander there of Presidential Guard, then he is retired, then he's brought back as army commander. Now, his controversial history, we see his statements during 2018 election, where he declared that military would ensure that ZANU-PF would rule until donkeys grow horns. ZANU-PF ichatonga kushikira madongi amera nyanga. Remember that statement from General Anselm Sanyatwe. That would make him a polarizing figure. Public reactions to his appointment reflect this unease. We see one ex-user would sarcastically dub him Minister of Nodo, implying what he implies, incompetence. Masoja anakufitikwa nekupeka sutu. We see another one ex-user would write, Musoja another arm camouflage, meaning a soldier doesn't fit in a suit. A soldier belongs in camouflage. These sentiments highlight the public skepticism about Sanyatwe's transition to a civilian role. Overseeing arts and culture, a portfolio that requires creativity and cultural sensitivity rather than military discipline. The tension at the ceremony may also reflect broader political concerns. MNANGAGWA's administration has been criticized for its reliance on military figures, a trend that began with the 2017 coup that brought him to power. Sanyatwe's appointment, replacing Dr. Kirsty Coventry after her election as the president of the International Olympic Committee, is seen by some as a continuation of this militarization, raising fears about the potential for increased control over cultural expression, a sector often used for dissent in Zimbabwe. Arts is where we see freedom of expression. Artistic expression cannot be governed by anybody, no matter who they are or who they think they are. Freedom of artistic expression, freedom of conscience. The right to create. Remember, we are creators. Created by the Creator. We are sons of God, so we are gods. Remember, Jesus is the King of Kings, not the King of slaves. We are creators. Adam is given a task, create in the Garden of Eden. That is why we are here. We are here for arts, culture, productivity, agriculture, anything. Be it science, everything is art. Be it engineering, everything is art. Now, Sanyatwe's continuity beyond MNANGAGWA's term. could that be possible? What happens next? A significant aspect of Sanyatwe appointment is his status as a non-MP minister. What does this mean? This is a roundup. Anyways, let us continue. Yeah. Now, a significant aspect of Sanyatwe's appointment in his status as a non-MP minister appointed under Section 104 of the 2013 Constitution, which allows the president to appoint up to 5 ministers who are not members of parliament. This status has important implications for his tenure when MNANGAGWA's term expires in 2028, as well as his potential to oversee roles of other ministries during a transition period. MNANGAGWA's second and final term, as per constitutional limit of 2 5-year terms, is set to end 2028 following his re-election in 2023. When a president term expires, a new president is elected and parliament is dissolved on the day before the general elections. Section 143 of the Zimbabwe Constitution. This dissolution means that all MPs, including those who are ministers, lose their parliamentary seats until they are re-elected or replaced. However, ministers do not automatically lose their positions, as their roles are tied to the president's discretion, not parliamentary status. The incoming president typically reshuffles the cabinet, but non-MP ministers like Sanyatwe are in a unique position. As a non-MP minister, Sanyatwe's tenure is not directly affected by the dissolution of parliament, while MP ministers would lose their parliamentary seats in 2028. Sanyatwe would remain in his ministerial role until the new president decides to dismiss or reassign him. This gives him a degree of continuity that MP ministers lack during the transitional period between MNANGAGWA's term ending and the new president forming a cabinet. Historical precedents such as the transition from Robert Gabriel Mugabe to MNANGAGWA in 2017 shows that ministers can remain in office during such transition until the new president makes changes. For example, MNANGAGWA retired some ministers from Mugabe cabinet before announcing his own in September 2018. Speculation. Sanyatwe overseeing other ministries. What would happen there? Let us do speculate. Let us speculate here. What can happen here? Now remember, this guy is a soldier. I'm a soldier. Soldier no shikakurere. Given Sanyatwe's non-MP status and the military background, there is speculation that he could play a significant role in overseeing the functions of other ministries during the 2028 election period. When MP ministers' parliamentary term expires. Now here is how this might unfold. He might get caretaker roles during elections. During the election period, the government operates in a caretaker capacity, focusing on routine administration and essential services, as discussed in previously. While all ministers remain in office, MP ministers may be preoccupied with campaigning for re-election as their parliamentary seats are at stake. Sanyatwe, as a non-MP minister, would not face this pressure, allowing him to take a more active role in ensuring government continuity. Military. Military influence and authority. Sanyatwe's military background and loyalty to ZANU-PF, evidenced by his past statements and role in the 2017 coup, position him as a trusted figure within the party. The military's deep influence in Zimbabwe's politics suggests that Sanyatwe could be tasked with overseeing critical portfolios such as those related to security or public order during the election period. For example, he might coordinate with the Minister of Home Affairs or Defense to maintain stability, especially given the military history of involvement in elections. Interim oversight of non-essential ministries like information, publicity, broadcasting services, or environment, climate, and wildlife, which are often held by MPs, might require interim oversight in if their ministers would be out or maybe focusing on campaigning so that they come back, because if they don't win the seat, they don't come back. Now, Sanyatwe's disciplined approach could be leveraged to manage these portfolios, temporarily ensuring that the state media, for instance, continues to operate in line with ZANU-PF interests, a practice criticized by past elections for favoring the ruling party. And we all know that ZBC falls under what? Sports, arts, and culture, TV, propaganda. Let us wait and see, as we'll be seeing Anselm Namo Sanyatwe's propaganda. Thank you to everybody who was watching us live. Thank you. It's you who make TV7 Live great. And may the good Lord bless you. William Chingarande says, much respect to you, Doc. Thank you very much for that positive feedback. Sami Sochinutima says, hi, Doc, my favorite channel. Thank you very much. May the Lord bless you. Vengai Mugabe. Personally, I feel Chwenga and ED are working together. They are working together. That is very true. A comment coming from Vengai Mugabe. I see. Pakwita working together. Apana aruta working together. Because pane kunyangirana. If we do see maziso iro. Ziso ire. Rakatarra kupi iro ziso iro. Muna aramzi utasa kwa anoda. But mire mone zine shiti kai papa. Let me watch it. And zoom. Vanasi kuzumunura kwa kunzi ku unzooma. Kana kuti kuzumunura. Zumunura. Jokes. So this is what is happening there. Knowledge Mutekede says Sudan, yes, in the name of Jesus. Peace in Zimbabwe, prosperity in Zimbabwe. Modern Muzuka Kuda, Bruce Mukandi, Knowledge Muteke, everybody who was watching us live, guys. Thank you very much for your support. Thank you very much for watching TV7 Live. Yes, it's you who make TV7 Live greater. It is you who make TV7 Live greater. As we can see in Zimbabwe, we have many people who are now streaming YouTube, TikTok, etc. Can you see kuti? Takawanda kudaro. Ma thousands of Zimbabweans anoposta vanoigadzira ma videos tabudisa ZBC mu office. Of course, we still just doing my live stream 1-2 per day, but we're somewhere, we're getting somewhere. It is because of you, fellow Zimbabweans. It is because of you. Imimi Jimmy not determiner. Even kind of value yes printer vega. That's how powerful you are, fellow Zimbabweans. Keep that in mind. Keep that in mind. And remember, be the hand of God and be the mouth of God. Do good, do good. Good is all about doing it. What good is being good for if it is not for being good, is it any good if it is not being done through works? With that, I sign out. Dr. Clarence, TV7 Live, broadcasting from Zimbabwe, Africa.